What's the best assessment for hiring salespeople? And how do you compare tools that all claim to improve sales hiring when many of them measure completely different things? I'm Dr. Chris Croner, author of Never Hire a Bad Salesperson Again and principal of SalesDrive, where we help companies hire salespeople with the drive to grow revenue. In this video, I'm giving out our industry awards for sales hiring assessments, covering platforms like SalesDrive, DISC, Predictive Index, TestGorilla, Objective Management Group, and Talogy Caliper, and breaking down where each one stands out. By the end, you'll understand exactly what these assessments actually measure, where each platform tends to fit best, and which tools may help your company make stronger sales hires, improve pipeline generation, reduce turnover, and ultimately drive more revenue. One of the biggest mistakes companies make in sales hiring is assuming all sales assessments do the same thing. They don't. Some measure communication style. Some focus on behavioral tendencies. Some evaluate cognitive ability. Some focus on coaching diagnostics, and some are specifically designed to evaluate motivational characteristics tied to prospecting persistence and sales drive. Those are very different objectives, and that distinction matters because a sales assessment is only useful if it measures something that actually matters in the role. For example, if your sales organization depends heavily on outbound prospecting and pipeline generation, you probably care a lot more about resilience, competitiveness, urgency, and consistency under pressure than whether someone simply interviews well. And that matters even more now that AI is making some candidates dramatically better at interviewing without necessarily making them better at selling. Presentation quality is improving faster than actual prospecting ability. So instead of creating another generic top 10 hiring assessments video, I want to walk through several highly respected sales assessment platforms and explain where each one is best known for contributing value inside the sales hiring process. Let's dive in. If your biggest hiring problem is finding true hunters, people who can consistently prospect, handle rejection, build pipeline, and maintain intensity month after month, SalesDrive is one of the more specialized assessments in that category. What makes SalesDrive different is that it focuses heavily on motivational characteristics associated with sales performance. The assessment was specifically designed around factors like achievement orientation, competitiveness, optimism, persuasiveness, and confidence. And in many outbound sales environments, those traits matter enormously because the hardest part of sales usually isn't talking. It's maintaining activity and emotional consistency under rejection and quota pressure. One reason companies invest in specialized sales assessments is because bad sales hires create massive downstream costs, lost pipeline, lost revenue, training expense, managerial drag, territory stagnation. And often, the candidate who interviews best isn't the candidate who performs best once the daily prospecting grind starts. Now, to be fair, no assessment predicts sales success perfectly. Management quality matters, training matters, compensation matters, market conditions matter. But for organizations where pipeline generation drives revenue growth, specialized sales assessments can provide valuable additional insight during the hiring process. When it comes to communication style awareness, DISC remains one of the most widely recognized behavioral frameworks in sales organizations. And one reason it's remained popular for decades is simplicity. DISC focuses primarily on observable communication and behavioral tendencies, things like assertiveness, pace, interaction style, communication preferences, all things that can be extremely useful in sales management and coaching environments. For example, some salespeople communicate very directly and aggressively. Others build trust more slowly and collaboratively. Neither style is automatically superior, but understanding those differences can improve coaching conversations, communication, leadership effectiveness, and team dynamics. Now, importantly, DISC is generally not positioned as a direct predictor of sales performance, and I think companies should be cautious about using communication style alone as the primary hiring filter, because highly polished communicators aren't always highly productive salespeople. But for communication awareness and sales leadership development, DISC remains one of the most useful and recognizable frameworks in business. Next, we have Best Sales Assessment for Behavioral Alignment, the Predictive Index. Predictive Index is often used by companies trying to improve alignment between the salesperson and the demands of the role itself. And that's an important distinction, because sometimes a salesperson isn't failing because they lack intelligence or talent. They're failing because the role conflicts with their natural behavioral tendencies. For example, a highly relationship-oriented salesperson may struggle in an extremely aggressive outbound environment with constant rejection. Meanwhile, another rep may thrive in highly competitive hunting roles but become disengaged managing long-term accounts. Predictive Index helps companies think more intentionally about those alignments. And many sales turnover problems are actually expectation mismatch problems, not compatibility problems. That's one reason Predictive Index has become popular among organizations trying to improve retention and long-term sales fit. Now, let's talk about the best platform for custom sales hiring workflows. TestGorilla. If your organization wants flexibility and customized sales hiring workflows, TestGorilla is one of the more widely used platforms right now. Unlike traditional assessments focused mainly on personality or behavioral science, TestGorilla allows companies to combine multiple evaluation methods into broader hiring workflow that may include personality testing, but also cognitive testing, writing exercises, sales scenarios, software proficiency, problem solving, and role-specific evaluations. This becomes especially useful for organizations hiring across multiple sales roles because SDRs, account executives, customer success reps, sales engineers, and channel managers may require very different evaluation processes. The strength of TestGorilla is flexibility. The trade-off is implementation quality. A poorly designed custom workflow is still a poorly designed hiring process. But for organizations wanting more hands-on control over sales candidate evaluation, TestGorilla gives them substantial flexibility. Now, we come to the best sales assessment for sales-specific behavior and coaching insight, Objective Management Group. Objective Management Group, commonly called OMG, is one of the most established sales-specific assessment companies in the industry. And what makes OMG different is that it was built specifically around evaluating sales-related behavior, not adapting a general personality assessment for sales afterward. OMG focuses heavily on sales-related competencies and behaviors tied to actual sales execution. Companies commonly use OMG for sales candidate evaluation, sales team assessment, coaching diagnostics, sales management development, and identifying sales-specific skill gaps. One reason companies value OMG is because it attempts to evaluate sales-specific tendencies beyond interview polish alone. For example, a candidate may communicate extremely well in interviews, but still struggle with qualifying, consultative selling, handling resistance, pipeline discipline, and prospecting consistency. And many organizations continue using OMG after hiring as part of ongoing coaching and sales management development. So, for companies wanting deeper insight into sales execution itself, not just personality style, OMG is often part of that conversation. Now, let's talk about the best enterprise sales assessment platform, Caliper by Talogy. For larger organizations hiring salespeople at scale, Talogy Caliper is one of the more established enterprise assessment platforms on the market. Caliper, now a part of Talogy, has been widely used for leadership assessment, employee selection, and talent evaluation for decades. What separates enterprise assessment platforms like Talogy Caliper is depth, scalability, and analytics infrastructure. Talogy Caliper offers personality and cognitive assessment solutions that organizations may use together to evaluate workplace tendencies, leadership potential, decision-making styles, and behavioral alignment with role demands. These systems are often used by organizations managing large recruiting operations, multi-location sales hiring, leadership development, succession planning, and enterprise HR infrastructure. And when organizations are hiring at scale, consistency becomes critically important because inconsistent hiring decisions create enormous downstream operational and financial costs. For smaller companies, enterprise platforms may honestly provide more complexity than necessary. But for large organizations building sophisticated sales and leadership systems, platforms like Talogy Caliper can provide substantial structure and long-term talent analytics. The best takeaway here is this: not all sales assessments measure the same things, and they're not trying to. Some focus on communication style. Some focus on motivational characteristics. Some focus on behavioral alignment. Some focus on coaching diagnostics. Some focus on enterprise analytics. The important thing is understanding what problem you're actually trying to solve inside your sales organization, because better sales hiring decisions usually compound into stronger pipeline, lower turnover, faster ramp up, better quota attainment, and ultimately more revenue. And while no sales assessment replaces strong leadership, structured interviewing, and thoughtful hiring practices, the right assessment can absolutely improve hiring consistency and reduce costly mistakes. If you're currently comparing sales assessment tools for hiring salespeople, I put together a side-by-side comparison guide covering the major platforms discussed in this video, including strengths, ideal use cases, and potential limitations. You can download that guide using the link below. And if sales hiring has become a growth bottleneck for your company, that comparison should help you think much more strategically about what each platform is actually designed to measure. If you found this video valuable, subscribe for more content on sales hiring, revenue growth, prospecting performance, and building stronger sales teams. The companies that consistently hire strong salespeople usually build enormous long-term competitive advantages over the companies that don't, because great salespeople create momentum and bad sales hires create drag. Again, I'm Dr. Chris Croner, and remember, it all starts with drive.